Welcome back to It's a Graham and Matt podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Graham.
Yep.
And I'm Alan.
We don't know where our fingers are going. That's a common occasion.
That's true. Yeah, I can only go by what's on my screen. So we got Alan there and Graham there. So I don't know how it looks on everybody else's screen. That's just what I'm looking at.
Just a bunch of idiots trying to point somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. We got an exciting show tonight. We're gonna address the hot topic, how 2020 has been the year of our Lord coronavirus.
Do you think that will be like in the future Bible?
Yeah,
like
dude,
the year
I hope
Lord
so.
2020
if I ever have the power to do something like that, that's what I'm gonna say. The year of our Lord the year of our Lord, the year of our Lord coronavirus. Yeah. So as 2020 comes to a close, we figure we go over exactly what COVID's impact is. So
the COVID impact.
The COVID impact.
There it is.
There's the title. That's the title. The COVID impact. So in our Discord, one of our community members brought up the topic of concerts, and I think what he said exactly here. I'll pull it up here. He was wondering why it seems like a lot of people don't go to concerts like they used to. Now, I mean, obviously we have COVID, which has impacted a lot. But one of the things that we were curious about, because as we were thinking about what we were going to record, Graham was mentioning that he was going to a virtual concert tonight.
Yeah.
So I guess just to start out, I mean, what's the last live concert you guys went to?
For me, I believe it was Rob Zombie, Marilyn Manson, and that weird band out of Vegas. I can't remember their name.
Yeah, it was 2019, right?
Yep, I think so. Yeah.
We went in the fall. I was with Alan.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. I saw that.
He was pissed. He was happy because we got seat instead of floor. Because he didn't want to stand all night long. He wanted to sit.
Yeah, except the best part is you're forgetting to tell them how high up we were.
Oh yeah, we were like 5 rows from the top. It was.
I mean, and it was like the seating was like that. So like,
where'd you guys see him? Was it the Fargo Dome?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you see,
it was the first concert I didn't try to sneak down on the floor because I was like, Rob Zombie and Marilyn Manson, like.
At the same time, though, like Rob Zombie, if I remember right, didn't he have like a whole bunch of visuals and stuff? Too?
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh, yeah. He puts on hell of a show too.
I think if you're sitting back for a show like that, it's not too bad.
We weren't sitting back; we were sitting to the side.
Oh no!
Yeah. Well, to be fair,
we left our buddy Brett in charge of tickets, and every time he does tickets, it's like there's a speaker in front of your view, or you get to see the backstage instead of anything else.
To be fair, it actually wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I imagine they think about that when they do it. The last concert I went to was Deadmau5, which was like I've been wanting to see Deadmau5 for years, and it's a little bit different in regards to like seeing Rob Zombie or Marilyn Manson, because I mean, he's basically pressing play.
Yeah.
But the appeal of that is like the light show and the videos and all that.
Yeah.
Super awesome.
He was at the Armory, right?
The Armory, yeah, which is a sweet venue in
the
Minneapolis.
Best venue in Minnesota, easily.
Yeah, it was super cool. I really enjoyed it, and that was like my late Christmas present, so I was a big fan. But I was really excited to go to Rockfest this year. I think Graham was actually going to go with me and try not to die this year.
Yeah, goal's not to die.
Yeah, and it sucks too because there's so many bands that they're on my bucket list. So Slipknot was going to be there. Yep. Limp Bizkit, for better or worse, was going to be there.
I've seen Limp Bizkit. Yeah, I think it would have been dope to see him 30 years later.
Oh yeah, and I've always wanted to see these bands.
I mean, West Borland's still dressing up and putting makeup on. So.
Oh yeah, and so, but then alas, come February, March, we find out, boom, COVID, and so it's interesting to see how COVID has impacted so many different industries. Namely, the first one we're talking about here, being the music industry. I think it's interesting hearing about things like the virtual concerts, because the first one I had heard about was actually Garth Brooks.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, who doesn't do anything digital at all. Like you can't find him on Spotify, Apple Music, nothing like that.
He does. He has his own. He does it through his own website, so he has his own service.
His icon actually looks like a Snapchat icon.
Yep.
Weird.
Yeah. Weird.
So I was listening to reviews about that on the radio when they're talking about it and reading about it online, and apparently, like it was a shit show. Like people really were unimpressed because it literally was just like it wasn't the camera, the videography. That's what I'm looking for. Videography was kind of poor, and like he was charging. Alan, you might have to look this up, but I want to say it was like $150. But I don't remember if it was like online or if it was like a drive-in concert that they just put on a screen.
It was a drive-in concert that they did on a screen.
And like did
Metallica had the same, but it was per car. So like you could, it was like $150 per car, I think, because Metallica did the same thing, and our bandmates went, and it was like $100 for a car.
What do you got, Alan?
The Garth Brooks one was $100.
$100.
Each ticket will admit one passenger car / truck.
Yeah, so $100 when you think about it, it pays for the cleanup, it pays for the parking space, it pays for the technology. That's not a bad thing because you can put, if you got a 15 passenger van,
that's fair.
The tickets to Garth Brooks are pretty cheap, but you weren't supposed to be outside your car. But a lot of these concerts you watched, like people post videos and stuff like that, and a lot of them were outside the car doing their thing. I don't know. Metallica did their show. What was it? A month ago. They did an online one, and our lead singer Jason sent us the link, and I watched some of it. And it was an acoustic show at first.
That's because that was the All Within My Hands stuff.
Yeah, their big donation.
Their big charity for kids.
Sure.
Yeah, and it was cool because they were like there was screens wrapped around them. And they would be like, "Hey, Berkeley 14377, how you doing over there? We see you rocking out." And then it would like go to a big screen in front of the band, and they could talk to the guy. And so I thought that was cool because they were like calling out certain people on the screen that they like have been watching pop up, and then they could speak directly to their fans that way. And I thought that like a cool way to interact because we don't get to interact when we go to concerts, especially like a Metallica concert. It's just so huge. There's no small venue Metallica shows anymore. I still didn't pay for it because I've seen a Metallica like 9 times now, and I wasn't gonna pay to see them online. But luckily, my buddy shared their link.
Was that 2019 that we all saw Metallica at different venues? But was 2018 that still the same year?
2018.
Yep. 2018.
Yeah, Lars walked right past Derek and I as we were drinking on the streets. It was pretty good.
Yeah. You guys saw them in the cities. We saw them up in Grand Forks.
He is short as hell.
Yeah.
He is a tiny dude.
Yep.
So I have questions though. So Graham, you saw a live concert tonight, right? Online?
Yeah. Yep. I saw AJR.
Okay.
They do songs like Bang and Hey Winter and things like that. A lot of good radio songs.
If you don't mind me asking, how much was that to get into that?
So to get into the show, the pre-show and the show was $25. To do the after party, and 1-to-1 questioning and stuff like that, where they do the video, like the video will pop in if they pick you, was $45. And then we just streamed it on our 55-inch in the living room, and I mean it was cool. The one thing I like about AJR compared to like a lot of bands that are going out there, a lot of bands are doing like limp syncing and really like just not doing a whole lot during this too. Like there's a lot of small bands, and I shared a bunch of these on I'll share a bunch in our topics and general stuff. There's some really cool bands like doing a bunch of things like mixing up online and on YouTube, like 5 different members from different bands will come and play songs together, covers together to try to raise some money because they're not earning any money right now because they're not touring.
Yeah.
But AJR is like full on legit. Like they had a mic issue and a guitar issue where he was singing a song and the whole production shut down.
Oh, wow.
And you could just see the crew, and this is how professional they are. If this was the Bad Campers, it would have taken an hour for us to figure it out. But they were just like within seconds. He's like, oh, mic's not working. Boom, boom, boom. Couple seconds. He's like, all right, well, let's just pretend that didn't happen, and we're gonna start from the second verse. So it was cool. They made a really their show was amazing. And it was cool to see the whole production because they had cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
And they banged out the whole an hour and 45-minute show.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Speaking of like the technical issues like that, that reminds me of the one time where you took me out to that one bar to DJ that show, like just for the crowd that night, and like one of those drunk people knocked over like our table. So like we unplugged, our speakers fell, and everybody's like, "What the hell?" Everybody's all hammered. So I mean so I know what you mean about like taking like forever to set things up, because like in that moment, I knew the panic I felt. Like I can only imagine like trying to like do a concert like that to, I mean, thousands of people online, you know, like who paid money for it.
Yeah. Well, I've been a part backstage stuff of a lot of big concerts, and there's technical stuff, and it's all cool heads prevail on that. You know, if you got a mic issue, you got a guitar issue or a drum something issue, just go out and fix it quick. You know, if you don't, musicians will get pissed and get mad. I mean, we do. Alan and I do, and we're small time. You know, we're nothing at all. And if we have production issues, we get upset about it and try to figure it out. But it was cool, and it was kind of daunting to me a little bit because, so my first concert, big concert, was Rush and Primus. Primus opened for Rush back in 1995 down in the cities.
1979. Okay.
Shut your face. My dad probably saw them in '79. But this was my boy's first concert. The first concert I was going to bring him to was going to be AJR. We got tickets for it in person for this fall, and obviously we got reimbursed because everything was canceled. And so to do this show as his first concert was really, it was cool. Like, I mean, he rocking out and everything like that. But it was also just disappointing because it's not the same experience that I had. It's not the experience I wanted him to have.
No, I totally get that. I mean, because like my thoughts are on the digital concert. Like, I mean, because seeing the music, number one, live, I mean, you're limited when you're doing it online. Exactly, feeling that bass, like not being able to hear for the next couple hours. But I mean, like if you're in your house, I mean, you can only crank it so loud, and it's still not going to have that same effect. Or I
almost brought the bass system in the
bodies.
house.
You almost, you should have.
I should have brought the band system.
The sea of bodies and everything, where you're just like in this group of homogenous humanity, like all kind of like vibing to that same thing,
sweating and singing and fist pumping and like, hugging, and
that's one of those things that like I just feel like to me that's 75% of the ticket.
Oh,
like,
easily.
Like seeing Tool, right? Like when we were at Northern Invasion, seeing Tool, like. It wasn't even just the fact that I was finally seeing my favorite band in concert. It was seeing all these other like-minded individuals kind of on that same wavelength.
Yeah. For me, it was more that too, for sure, because Tool on stage is absolutely boring. Like if you just if you're there to watch the band, I mean, he didn't move at all. Come on, he stood there.
No, but it's like
the only time he moved is when he was yelling at his production staff.
Yeah.
But to see the whole experience and to see everybody around you, yes, that's the ticket. You know, that's what you go for. You don't. Sometimes you don't always go for the band. You go, you know, like when we went to Nine Inch Nails.
Yep.
And Explosions in the Sky opened.
Yeah.
They actually, for me, and I love Nine Inch Nails. That was my first Nine Inch Nails show, and I absolutely had a blast at that show. But Explosions in the Sky, to experience them, was the ticket. Because they were just
they were definitely really
opener.
Good.
Like that, I was like,
really
they're
good.
the opener. They should be their own. You know, like they should be the headliner for not this show. You know, Nine Inch Nails has to be, but that right there, I was like, all right, you know, that paid for it itself. Just having such a good opening band, you know.
Yeah, you bought their vinyl, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I bought one, and then I ordered the rest online. A couple years down the road.
Yeah, so I mean, like that's the thing about COVID, like. Nobody knows how long this is going to take before we return to any sense of normalcy. You know, you have some areas like in the South, you know, that just frankly don't give a shit. And, you know, they're still having these concerts. I think like I don't know if any of you guys have been following like the online shit with the band Trapped. You know, headstrong.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So apparently, that guy's just a real douchebag. You know,
Yeah.
like coronavirus is a lie. Blah 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 blah.
That's seriously
And-
underestimating it.
Oh yeah, 100%. But like a lot of these bands like that are like-minded like that. They're like, you know, whatever. We're still gonna have the show. You know,
Fozzy.
we're gonna. Yeah, I think the other one, Static X.
Yep.
Like they're just having like these parties, like, you know, fuck it, let's just do it. You know, what's the
R.I.P.
worst
Wayne
that could
Static.
happen? Yeah, but I tell you what, they still rock though. They got the singer of who's this? What's that? Dope.
Yep.
The singer of Dope. He is the new singer of Static X. It's super good. Saw them at
Yeah,
Rockfest
dude, he's
in
solid,
19.
man.
But like, I don't know, man. Like, as much as I really miss live music, because honestly, that's one of my favorite things. Like every year, we go to a music festival, and I look forward to that every single year. You know, getting up early, drinking too much, like going and seeing great music and discovering all these bands that I never knew about before. Like I miss that so much, but I don't know that I'm willing to risk it because I mean, shit. I mean, you go into a crowd dry, you leave the crowd soaked, usually not by your own sweat.
Yeah.
Like that's like that experience. I don't know when we're gonna be able to experience something like that again because you know you have these festivals like Bonnaroo and Lollapalooza and Rockfest. You're like, yeah, we're coming back next year. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they actually will. I mean, because I don't think we're really out of the woods with all of this yet. And yeah, it sucks that you know we take these things for granted so much.
You know, talking music wise and COVID and stuff like that. I mean, we've all had our own experiences with COVID this year. Whether it's, you know, for me, it's been stuck in my closet office since February because I started early, and just doing all my work Zoom, which is insane for me. Like that's not how mental health is supposed to be done.
Yeah.
But music wise, like so, Al and I with our band, we're used to doing 48 to 60 some shows a year.
Yeah.
And we have done what 4 shows this year.
Yep.
And we did them at the end of August.
And one of them was a wedding.
Gigs. Yeah, we did a wedding. And we had expectations and stuff like that, but you know, a couple of ones were like, you know, we're trying to save some bars because they were going under. And so they asked, you know, will you come play? And we're like, yeah, you know, we love you guys. We don't want you guys to lose business. But the deeper things get into, it's like the music portion of it. We did a practice or a jam session last weekend.
Yep.
And we social distance. We separated, you know, in this big garage and stuff like that. And there was a moment in there, like we were doing a couple songs. Not a couple. We did a lot of songs, but like the last few, there's a couple moments there where like, you know, this is grown hairy man, 40-year-old, almost crying. We were all singing. Me, Alan, and Jay were singing and harmonizing. I don't even know what song it was, but we were into it. The music, we're just getting into it. And I'm looking around and I'm like, man, this is perfect and amazing. Like it was great for me to have that experience to play music. And like I was emotional.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like, man, is this what it is? Like,
yeah,
we hadn't played a show, like 4 shows in a year.
Yeah,
it's nothing. And to realize like, could this just be what we become now when we've been playing for 12 years? And there was moments in our career that were like, man, we just need to quit. We need to be done. We need this to be over. And that night I was like, man, I don't ever want this to be over. Like that experience, you know? And having concerts, not playing shows, not experiencing that.
No.
It's weird, man, because music for me is like, you know, it's life. It's what keeps me going on a lot of aspects.
100%. Like I was gonna say, like I mean, music is a huge escape for a lot of people, like who are, you know, dealing with those like mental health things. I know, like it's kind of like a lot of people like in the music community kind of hate on this, but like you go to like Warped Tour and everything, and like there's these like people singing to the 13-year-olds in the audience, you know. My music's here to save you, blah 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 blah, and it's kind of cheesy, but at the same time, like I mean, I remember being a teenager and like literally every single bad thing or good thing that happened in my life, there was always a song to it. So I mean, like,
oh yeah,
I remember like breaking up with my girlfriend, or me and my girlfriend having some issues in high school, and like I had like Broken by Seether on a repeat. just like ugly crying into a mirror just to see myself cry, or like listening to like I was just talking to Alicia about this the other day because my friend Amanda, just in love with that girl our entire childhood. Like I remember listening to all these cheesy songs. It was Vertical Horizon we were listening to. You know that he is everything you want. You know, and I was like, I used to sing this song to my friend Amanda all the time, just because like that's how I felt about her. But like, I think it's like, I mean, I think all of us probably grew up in a household where music was a huge part of our upbringing. You know, so like
70s rock on the vinyl all day, all night at my house. Yep.
Just Pink Floyd every day. Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, and
yep.
You know that's what I was telling Alicia this the other day. Like I'm listening to music constantly. So if we're in the car, I'm blasting music. If we're at home and cleaning, I'm blasting music. Because I want my kids to have that too, like having that appreciation for music and how it can be used as a tool to get you out of life situations. You know, that's super important.
The AJR show tonight had a pretty cool thing. They're doing their last song, and it kind of got to this big heightened emotional part in the song, and then it's like a bass drop, and everything gets like, you know, all the instruments come out and they just go crazy. And it got to this big heightened moment, and then it paused, dead silence, and it went straight to a screen, and it was the old keyboard click 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 typing, and it talked about like how effed up this year is and how, you know, nothing's the same right now, and we hope that things get back to normal, and we're sad that we can't see you smile, but we hope we made you smile tonight, type of thing. And that, like, that's their purpose, they said, is seeing people smile to the music when they're on stage. That's what keeps them going. And so like their show tonight was really to just try to get people to smile and be like, yo, we're gonna get out of this. And and that was cool. Like that was emotional too, because I'm like, man, like, you know, we get stuck in this 9 months now, and we all realize like what we're missing out of, and we're, you know, it's all luxury stuff for the most part that we're missing out on, right?
Yeah.
But it's still meaningful to us, and we're still able to like take care of ourselves. Like I'm not in a bad place. Like I get depression, I get, you know, anxiety and crap like that when I go out now, which is freaking stupid. It sucks.
Yeah.
But I'm not missing these luxuries that I'm not having aren't ruining my life. But for some people, life's being ruined.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And so to see, you know, just to see like even that moment for people who are like really, really struggling, if they got to see that, like that could have lifted them up, you know. And I mad respect to AJR. Just on I've never seen them live. I've listened to the songs because my kid loves them. Yeah. But seeing that show live, like really, like one made me miss shows.
Yeah.
Like I'll see anybody. I don't care who I see. You know, like I miss shows at this point.
Yeah, I mean, like I was watching Gojira the other day at Red Rocks. Actually, watched two of them. One from 2018 and one from 2019. And I was just like, oh man, that would have been sick to be there, but we can't because we're stuck in COVID. But I was like, at the same time, at least it's now during this time of year, or I mean this point in history where we have the technology to do that, where they can go and record it and it actually sounds really good.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like the nice thing too is like once this COVID shit's over, like, you know, that like as soon as festivals start popping off again, like there's going to be a lot of people there, because I mean everybody just can't wait. It's kind of like one of those bars that reopened in the cities against, you know, the governor's orders. Like 200 people showed up, like, and because people want to support their favorite artists, they want to support their local restaurants and their bars. You know, it's just knowing when is the right time to do it.
So what is your mindset on that then? So next summer, Rockfest is going to be killer. Like the lineup's supposed to be killer. The bands that already signed up for it. And I'm like, if we're going, we're all going, type of thing. But realistically, what is it going to take for you to go?
I mean,
and be comfortable going. I think that's a big part too for a lot of people. Like, I mean, Americans are Americans, and they've, you know, where everyone's for the most part in whatever their choice. You can't. I'm not going to argue the fact of people not following through type of stuff.
Oh, you should argue it. I'm interested to hear. I'm interested.
But personally, you know, like me going to a mall, like we were in Fargo for a doctor's appointment, and I wanted to go to Shields, And I got into Shields, man, in 5 minutes. And there was just so many stupid people there. I couldn't handle it anymore. Like, I had to get out of there after 5 minutes. And that made me start to wonder. I was like, all right, I mean, when we went to what was it called? Northern Invasion.
Yeah.
There's so many freaking people there. And I had no issues then, but now I'm like, man, am I gonna have issues going just the way
things are right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so like, I think what it comes down to for me is like, maybe it's just because I trust these promoters. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, but I like to think that between like the government regulations and everything, they're gonna have the honesty to say, hey, we can do this in a safe manner. I mean, because when it comes to the day-to-day stuff like you're talking about, I mean, I see it too. Like, when restaurants reopened, I went to restaurants. Like, if I can go sit in a restaurant, I'm going to do that. But if I'm in Walmart, if I'm in Target, if I'm anywhere else, like even if I'm just going into the gas station, I'm going to mask up. It's not something that's that big of a deal. I mean, I have customers that come into my place of employment and like, for instance, we had a person that came in and said, we said, hey, do you have a mask? And he's like, it's violating my rights. And, and we're just like, listen, man, it's company policy. Like, this is what we got to do. Yeah. And that's the thing about it for me is like, you can enjoy these things. You can enjoy a nice evening out, shopping with your family. You should be able to go into Shields. You should be able to go into a restaurant and have a meal, or, go somewhere and have a beer. But the shitty thing about the American people, for the most part, is, well, I'm not wearing a mask. This is stupid. And like, there's this big distrust of the government. Back in the day, 10 years ago, it wasn't quite as bad. I don't feel like, we had an episode when all the NSA
let's pause for 1 second and everyone pay attention to Matt flexing.
Yeah.
All right,
but I remember 10 years ago or 7 years ago when we were doing this podcast, we had just found out about the NSA shit and everything that went down with that. So now we have this big culmination from them with this big distrust of government. The government's lying about coronavirus. It's the Democrats, or it's China, or the president not telling people, hey, you should wear a mask. So like, we're really just shooting ourselves in the foot. So like, if we would have been adhering to all this stuff from the very beginning, we'd be in a much different situation. We could go out to Shields, and if everybody's wearing a mask and just being conscious of each other's space.
Well, you can you can in Fargo because North Dakota doesn't give two shits.
Yeah, but see, that's the problem. Like, because like, people don't realize that we can have most of these nice things if we just can start to adapt to the way that things are now. I like how you talked about earlier about like music and mental health and everything, because all of these COVID restrictions, I mean, I do believe like when opponents of the protocols, the mask or the face coverings and all that, people were against it. I do think that they have a point when they say, this does affect mental health, because it does. Like, I remember I took a friend of mine. We were out disc golfing, and we went to a restaurant afterwards because we still could. And the amount of social anxiety my friend had, because I mean, he's just been cooped up in his place, not doing anything, not seeing anybody. But the social anxiety of like, I shouldn't be in here. Like, I'm gonna get sick, and because the longer that people are isolated like that, I mean, it's gonna take an effect. Yep. But people just gotta, go ahead.
Well, that's the thing for me. I don't. There's moments where I'll be just get anxious and frustrated because I'd rather spend a month in the woods than 5 hours with a bunch of people I don't know, unless it's at a concert.
Correct. Yep.
But like lately, the way things have been for me, where going out, like I'm stressed, and part of it is because like I feel, because I'm hiding half my face, and so I wear a bandana because I got a big stupid beard, and so I'm covering my face all the way up to my eyes. I have my hat, and you're almost doing full body turns, instead of just doing head turns. And it just changes like your view of like everything in the world, where you're almost like enclosed. It's like wearing a welding mask or something like that all the time, where your perspective is just in front of you. You're just trying to get that over with. And I think for me, like, it's just I worry about that social anxiety. I don't worry about getting the disease or getting the COVID. Like whatever. I don't worry about that part because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm going to follow the rules because I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist.
Yep.
And if they're screwing us over, and they're trying to control us, then I don't know. I can't say yay or nay on it.
Right.
I do have thoughts about government and how government has responded to COVID. But on a personal level, I'm following the rules. And I was actually hopeful for a while there. I was really hopeful at the beginning where I'm like, when we all went into the lockdown, because this was a big thing, and we all went in and everyone was like, we were kind of a collective. Like the whole country was a collective for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And 3 weeks. That's how long we could be unified.
And I'm like, here's the deal. Everyone has their technology, their video games, their backup technology. Everyone has their things, and we still couldn't make it 3 weeks without turning into assholes.
Look, man, once everybody was done watching Tiger King, all bets were off.
That's what dude, man. The Tiger King survived us.
It's all Carol Baskin's fault.
Yeah, the Tiger King era of the lockdown was the golden era of the lockdown.
Yeah,
for 100%. Because everybody was comfortable with sitting at home, and everybody was comfortable with watching some good stuff on Netflix, reading all the memes about it, sharing the memes. Like it was a great time.
Yes. Searching if she really did it.
Right. But the thing that I've heard a lot about is the fatigue factor of COVID.
Yeah.
So there are people who've been working from home and or doing school from home all year. And so I've read things about for instance, I was reading the other day on Huffington Post, they were talking about this couple who decided that they needed, I'm weird, but they had to start telling their kids, hey, your father and I, we're going to go have sex. Because the whole thing is there was no more boundaries anymore. And so they used it as an opportunity to do sex education for their kids in an age appropriate way. It's not like they're saying, yeah, we're going to go and,
you guys should sit in the room with us while we do our deed.
Right. But they're in their big fears. Do we talk about this? But now they're, they might giggle and make fun of us a little bit, but they understand why we do it. They understand that there's an intimacy thing, but that's neither here nor there. But the biggest point is the boundaries of a household are shattered now. And I had to work from home, and, I had, my kids were doing work from home. Alicia was watching 2 kids doing work from home. And if my kids at all, they don't have a fucking volume meter. It's just always here. They take after me for sure. But it's hard. So at the end of the 4 months that I was off, I was like, I can't wait to go back to work. And I will say that at first, because I live in a small town, you guys live in a small town, so you probably understand the whole the only thing you guys don't have is the retail aspect, but so many people saying, hey, you can't come into the store. I have to have you wait in your vehicle where it's appointment only. This coronavirus shit is bullshit. None of it's real. It's the government, all this blah, blah, blah. And the interesting thing about this whole virus thing is you're really starting to see who people are at their core. And because they don't look at you as a human being anymore. They say, you're a fucking sheep. And it's really sad.
Yeah.
And I've been saying this since the beginning. Well, since a few months in, after that first 3 weeks because of Carol Baskin. I've been saying this the whole time is the issue right now is less of the coronavirus and more about how we're treating people.
Yeah.
Because this, 100%. There was it's insane. It was insane. I was in line to buy a sandwich when I was in Fargo. You don't get to do that in Minnesota. You don't get to stand in stores. You don't, you get to go in stores. You don't get to go anywhere restaurants.
Yeah.
And Fargo had their mall. What is it called? The Commons area. The food mart or the food market. Whatever. Yeah. And see, we don't even have one of those here, so I don't even know what to call it. But I'm standing in line. The food court. I'm standing in line, and there was 4 people in line, and on the floor are all these little circles, and it goes in a zigzag. But there's 4 of us in line, and I just followed in line with what the 4 people are doing. Nobody else was following the circle pattern, whatever. and there was nobody out there guiding people to do it. And this lady comes behind me with her mom, and she's like, see, this is why people are dying, because stupid asses like this won't stand on the red dots. And I look back at her, and I'm like, here's the first thing. I look back at her, and she was like 2 feet away from me. So if she wants to complain about social distancing and standing on red dots, she was like right up my butt. But that whole attitude, like just her talking like that, made me not want to stand in line and get a sandwich. And just because I didn't want to hear it, like I'm not into all this. I'm not going to fight with people. I'm not going to argue with people. You want to be a douchebag, be a douchebag. You want to be a sweetheart about this and kind of do your thing, or if you just want to be the silent type and do your thing, you're going to do what you're going to do. I've only had a few people impact me that way, where they've said something or made these dumb comments, or like when you go to Walmart. And this is the one thing. When I've gone to Walmart, I feel like I should have been wearing masks for the last 20 years going to Walmart.
Yeah.
Just because I now realize how grimy that whole, like, I've realized it the whole time, but it's like extra grimy right now.
But hey, Bemidji has the robot cleaner now.
Yeah, that's good, because nobody else knows how to clean, especially when they're wearing their sweatpants halfway down their butt and their belly shirts, trying to stock shelves.
Yep.
But that lady, just like that attitude right there, is like, Corona's not the issue. We're gonna have this shit forever. Like, these type of diseases are gonna continue to pop up. Things are gonna continue to pop up.
Yeah.
It's that attitude that is making it worse for people.
Yep.
And that's the part where I worry, like, how are we gonna come out on the upswing of this?
Yeah.
You know, if we're going to come out of this, are we still just going to be a-holes the whole time? We're not going to rejoice because we all collaborated together and we got through this together. No, it's going to be a bunch of... I think we're going to come out of this worse.
Yeah, I mean, like...
Socially.
I want to agree with you, and I do to some extent, but I'm going to be honest, like in the heat of all of this, you know, we're talking summertime, right? I mean, I remember going into Walmart and just being pissed because, like, I mean, Walmart had like those things on the floor, like walk this way when you're shopping, you know, and stay socially distant. And I remember getting so upset because, like, I would be walking, and I tell you this, like, I didn't have my kids with me in Walmart probably for the first 4 months, like that whole time that I was at home.
Not until last month did we start.
Yeah, and I started earlier than that.
We did 8 months.
Yeah, and like, the thing that made me mad would be, like, you know, when we're in the heat of this and there were still so many unknowns and everything was spiking and people were dying at a huge rate. Like, I remember like walking in Walmart, and then, you know, we'd be following the lines, you know, as best as we could. You know, sometimes we didn't, but, you know, it is what it is. But it would make me so mad because they'd have like groups of people who weren't wearing masks going the opposite way, crossing us. Yeah. And like, there would be times where I would just look around and I'd see, you know, 100 people, no masks. And like, I would get all passive aggressive and be like, you know, why have a mask mandate if nobody's going to follow it? Yeah. Or like, I actually wrote into my store once, I felt like a real Karen doing it, but I was like, you know, what's the point of having guards in the front of your store if you're not going to enforce this? And like, why aren't your employees asking people to lift their masks? I mean, because like, I have all my employees trained. Like, if somebody has their mask off, give them a mask or tell them to lift it up. Because, and my mantra every day, I feel like, is saying, look, we're not Walmart. You know, we are going to enforce this, because if any of you get sick, our store is closing. If Walmart's employees get sick, they're staying open. We'll close, and that's going to affect all of our paychecks.
Yep.
And so it makes, the thing about that I disagree with you about it is, in my mind, it's such a simple ask. It's such a simple ask of, hey, let's collaborate and beat this together.
So there's no disagreement there. I'm in the same boat. I wear mine because it's a simple ask. It's the only thing that we're actually capable of doing, because we're not in control of anything.
You're just not an asshole about it.
I'm not. No, and I wear mine all the time.
I mean, in my head, I'm a huge asshole about it.
Oh, I hate it. I absolutely
and
hate
like,
it. But
the other thing that really bothers me too
is it's the easiest thing to do, and I'll do it.
Yeah.
I don't have any qualms about doing it because it's easy to do. My issue,
too.
I can't wear that.
Like, people keeping their nose out. My boss always says their dick's hanging out.
Right.
Like, it's just so stupid. Like that's the thing for me. I just get so annoyed.
No, we're not off on the same page there. My thing is, I think our attitude about either how we're treating people who, if your expectation is higher than others, and how we're treating them is crap. People who aren't wearing masks and treating people disrespectfully is crap. People who are wearing masks and treating people without wearing them, like we're just built this nastiness out of this whole ordeal because we can't just come together on something so simple, because it is so simple. It's not that big of a deal to wear one. It is a nuisance. It is mine. I have to wash my mask every day, my bandana every day, because if I wear it for more than a couple hours at a time, and I work in a academic setting, and so I have to wear it all the time when I'm in the academic setting. But that was like not yet, because I haven't been there for 9 months because we've been closed. But it's more of a nuisance. Like the part that we have to deal with as society is we're dealing with the nuisance of wearing something that we're not used to wearing. But who cares? In the long run, and if a store, like when the stores are like, you got to wear one or you can't come in. All right, if you don't want to wear one, then don't go in. That's your right.
Yeah.
But they're allowed to make their rules and hold you accountable.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you said, why do you have security guards up front if they're not asking people to do this? Why do you have employees who aren't? My favorite is the employees, like you said, when the employees are all walking around like this, but then tell you to pull your mask up. I'm like, you kidding me?
So
we were at the casino.
Oh, the
Alan
casino.
and I went to the casino.
I was just going to bring that up.
There's security guards and staff walking around like this with masks on,
and then telling us every 3 seconds,
walking by,
pull your mask up, pull your mask up when you're trying to take a drink.
To take a drink, and they come by and like, pull your mask up, and we're like, but we can wear it doing a drink, but they're like walking around like this the whole time.
Yep.
Like that right there is why people aren't. A lot of the reasons why people are like, this is a joke. Why are we following this rule if the people who are enforcing it aren't following the rules?
Yeah. But I think what you're really trying to say is like it's really easy to dehumanize each other.
Yes, and that's what's happened. And that's where I'm worried that we're not going to come out. We're not going to come out of this celebrating.
No.
Right.
We're going to come out of this hating the hell out of each other and trying to come back together. And that leads into a podcast later about when you're talking about like Civil War stuff too, because
it's coming.
But all that mentality ties in. All this hatred that we're building ties in to the future of what we're going to be.
Yep.
And that's the part that I'm worried about is like, what are we turning into? What are we turning our foundation into? And some people will say, well, this has always been, we're just now showing it. But like, we're really turning into something, this country into a different beast. And it's scary. It's scary to see.
Yeah.
And COVID just happened to be the turning key.
Yep.
The catalyst. Yeah.
Yeah.
My experience has been a lot different from your guys's, because you guys could do your work from home. I'm a frontline worker. I work in healthcare. So, I mean, nothing really changed other than that. Now I'm having to wear a mask all day at work. And believe me, so when I was working 12 hours, wearing a mask the entire time was not fun at all.
Yeah, I know what that's like now. Yeah, it's the worst. Yeah. I mean, that's why, I think that makes me feel less bad for people, though, when they get all angsty about it. It's like, look, I've been in this store for 10 hours wearing a mask 99% of the time. And you're going to tell me that you can't keep your fucking mask over your face for 10 minutes.
Yep.
10
like,
minutes.
I have no sympathy for that.
Yeah.
And the hard thing is, like, I mean, I'll say it again. Like, I've definitely fell victim to the dehumanizing the other side. Like, I literally tell my children, whether this makes me bad or not, but like, I'm guilty of calling people plague rats when they choose not to wear a mask in a store. Like, I'm like,
wow.
Like my kids don't really notice. Like, I've never had like my kids say like, "Hey, Dad, why aren't they wearing a mask?" Thank God, because I would unleash a rant of all rants to my kids about why these people are plague rats and they're everything wrong with our country when it comes to this. Because I mean, across the globe, you're seeing countries come together. You're also, which is going to kind of lead us into our next topic, but like, you're also seeing their governments do a better job of supporting their population through this entire process. And I think that that's part of the issue. I think, Alan, you might have to fact check me on this, but I'm pretty sure it was a
and not a Facebook fact check.
No, definitely not. That's another episode right there.
No, I don't trust the Zuck.
Like, once we start talking about like your decision to move out, once we have a podcast on your decision to move to a flip phone, I got a lot to say around social media and all this. But like, I forget what country it was, but I want to say it was maybe Finland or something like that. But like, they had sent everybody like a month's worth of groceries and supplemental income, so that they not only could keep their economy going, by, ordering online, things like that, but also so that people could pay their bills, pay their rent, because they didn't have jobs.
Yeah.
But like, what do we have in America? It's like for $1.64 a day, you can support an American. Like, like it's so like we have obviously the big talks right now around the new stimulus bill. So kind of the different perspectives on that, right? So we saw a lot of this during the election season, especially in the Democrat primary. So you had on one hand Joe Biden, kind of like the centrist Democrat, right? And on the left side, you see people like Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, feel the burn. But you have people like Bernie Sanders in the Senate saying, hey, we need retroactive checks for the American people. These people have lost their jobs. They can't pay their rent. They can't pay their mortgage. They can't pay their bills. They can barely afford groceries for their families. And everybody's at home, So other countries, you've seen this kind of thing. But, they give us during the golden age of the Rona, so during the Joe Exotic Tiger King era of coronavirus,
Carol Baskins.
We had a pretty good stimulus deal. I mean, each person got $1,200, $500 per kid. It was great in that 4-month process.
You think that was premature?
No, I don't think it was premature. I just don't think it went far enough. Yeah. I mean, because it was good in the time. It was good. That was a good starting point, but it shouldn't have ended, in my opinion. No. Because what did that do? So let me back up for a second. So you have Amazon, you have Walmart, you have Target, you have these big box stores that are doing well, if not better than before coronavirus.
Oh, their stocks are up so much.
Yeah.
We all failed by not putting stock in these companies this year.
100%.
Yep.
But like you have these other people. So like, I mean, we lost some restaurants here in my town, and across the country, small businesses are losing a lot of money. They don't have any money. So I mean, like, and then because not only can the American people, even when we could eat at these restaurants, where's the money? A lot of people didn't have the money to do it. So I remember there being like home workers, like, oh, I run a massage parlor out of my house, or I cut hair for a living. I rent a space in a studio to cut hair. Like, I don't know how this affected your sister, but like all of these people, they didn't have money to run their businesses because number one, either they couldn't have customers or customers couldn't afford these things because they weren't working.
Yeah.
And so I think
they were to the point of almost being out of business. Like
100%.
They were losing so much cash because they couldn't be open, and they had a small glimpse. And if the governor would have shut them down again, it would have been done for them.
Yeah, and so you have like that little stimulus check that we had. I mean, I can't call it. It's not fair to call it little. It was good. But, that only helped for so long. I mean, so was I able to pay my rent? I mean, I was one of the lucky people that did not lose their job. The 4 months I was out of work, I got paid, and I got paid well. And that's not the
I
case
didn't.
for
I missed
everybody.
out on that whole thing.
Yeah,
and so did Alan too, though.
Yeah,
yeah, and so like for the people that did lose their job, so I think of all the servers, like all the restaurant servers, the restaurant cooks, because if you're just doing takeout, you don't need to employ a full kitchen. These people, they don't have money to survive, and like they're not just going to get unemployment checks forever. So to me, it didn't go far enough. Like, people are struggling. Am I struggling? No, not really. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like it's been still pretty normal for me money wise, but like you can't just say, well, don't worry, you can't get evicted. So now we're at the end of 2020, and now there's talks about another stimulus bill, but it's not even close to what we had before. It's $600.
Yep.
But here's the thing I really wanted to talk about with that. So, if anybody knows me personally, or maybe checked our old podcast, I mean, you're gonna know I'm a pretty big critic of the president, to say the least, right? But there was a lot of interesting things that he said in there.
Throughout the summer, Democrats cruelly blocked COVID relief legislation in an effort to advance their extreme left-wing agenda and influence the election. Then, a few months ago, Congress started negotiations on a new package to get urgently needed help to the American people. It's taken forever. However, the bill they are now planning to send back to my desk is much different than anticipated. It really is a disgrace. For example, among the more than 5,000 pages in this bill, which nobody in Congress has read because of its length and complexity, it's called the COVID Relief Bill, but it has almost nothing to do with COVID. This bill contains $85.5 million for assistance to Cambodia, $134 million to Burma, $1.3 billion for Egypt and the Egyptian military, which will go out and buy almost exclusively Russian military equipment. $25 million for democracy and gender programs in Pakistan. $505 million to Belize, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama. $40 million for the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., which is not even open for business, $1 billion for the Smithsonian, and an additional $154 million for the National Gallery of Art. Likewise, these facilities are essentially not open. $7 million for reef fish management, $25 million to combat Asian carp, $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico, a provision to promote the breeding of fish in federal hatcheries, $3 million in poultry production technology, $2 million to research the impact of down trees, $566 million for construction projects at the FBI. The bill also allows stimulus checks for the family members of illegal aliens, allowing them to get up to $1,800 each. This is far more than the Americans are given. Despite all of this wasteful spending and much more, the $900 billion package provides hardworking taxpayers with only $600 each in relief payments. And not enough money is given to small businesses, and in particular restaurants, whose owners have suffered so grievously. They were only given a deduction for others to use in business their restaurant for 2 years. This 2-year period must be withdrawn, which will allow the owners to obtain financing and get their restaurants back in condition. Congress can terminate it at a much later date, but 2 years is not acceptable. It's not enough. Congress found plenty of money for foreign countries, lobbyists, and special interests, while sending the bare minimum to the American people who need it. It wasn't their fault. It was China's fault, not their fault. I am asking Congress to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000 or $4,000 for a couple. I'm also asking Congress to immediately get rid of the wasteful and unnecessary items from this legislation and to send me a suitable bill, or else the next administration will have to deliver a COVID relief package, and maybe that administration will be me, and we will get it done. Thank you very much.
But one of the things the president said is, we have this massive bill, and Alan can put up the number here probably in post to show you like the amount of money that this bill is for. But what it comes
233 billion, isn't it?
Yes.
it's like I thought it was like a trillion or something.
Trillion, yeah.
900 billion.
900 billion.
900 billion.
And so, like, if you think about
it,
like, so much of that money isn't even coming to us as the American people. Like, so what I did like about what the president said, he was talking about how we're sending money to Sudan, to Pakistan, to all these countries. We're putting money, I believe, towards the wall. We're putting money towards Lockheed Martin missile programs. Now, the mistake is, I mean, and I think some people would say this in response, is that, well, it's tied to our funding bill to keep our government open. But he has it right on the nuts. Like, we have all of this money tied into our stimulus bill that's supposed to support the American people, but we're sending all this money overseas. And, you know, while we that are struggling to maintain staying open, with American people who, once the bill comes due and the moratorium's over, they're going to lose their house. They're going to lose the apartment. They're going to get evicted. Yeah. And, you know, a small fraction of that's going to us. And then he said, you know, this $600 per an adult, that's an insult.
Yeah.
Like, I can't pay my rent with that, you know?
Yeah. And,
like,
you know, and that was probably a political move, obviously, for him, because he's at the end and he's still trying to look at the way to win. But I watched that too, and I was like, man, as much as I know, like, we're humanitarians to other countries, a lot of the stuff that was going out wasn't humanitarian type stuff.
No, not at all.
And that really frustrated me, because I'm like, all right, gas prices are going up, food's going up, everything's going up over here. And and $2,000, I mean, $2,000's a good number to help people. Like, I'm gonna take it, obviously, but I could deny it because I don't need it.
Right.
You know, not that I'm rich by any means. Like, I'm not money's not growing out of trees around my house. We're struggling just as much as other people. But at the same time, like you said, there's people that are really hurting, people that are at that verge of losing everything, or people who have already lost everything and sleeping in tent cities and all this crap. And $600 ain't gonna do them diddly.
Here's
$2,000 might not do them diddly.
The second
to send that money all over the place kills me.
The second stimulus bill here is $900 billion, and with the direct payments of $600 to most Americans, that roughly only equates to about $200 billion.
Yeah. So $700 billion
is going somewhere.
Private.
To trash.
Overseas or private interest.
Yeah. And, you know, I get that they're sending, like, so... Like,
so some of that money has to go to other places. Like, I get that too, because if we don't funnel money into other things overseas, that will affect us, our economy. Yeah. Like, I get that too. There's some of that stuff in there that we are funding that I could see, like, why, but right now I don't see why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like there's certain things I'm like, I get it. We're doing the right thing as a country, but right now, do we need to do that? We need to focus on ourselves. You know, there's a lot of those moments where it's like we focus on the world more than us sometimes.
And I get that to some degree.
We won't be able to do that, right? If you don't do self-care, right? If you don't do self-care internally, are you going to be a good father? Are you going to be a good person at your work? Are you going to be doing this? If America thinks of themselves as the world leader, if we don't do some self-care here, and look what happened, you know, look how bad our country is this year. All these things, like, we're crumbling. If we don't do some self-care here, how are we going to still do that? If that's a mentality, that's a different topic too. But
well, yeah, I mean, like, I'm not like one of those, like, right-wing America first kind of people and fuck the world. Like, that's not me. But the thing is, at some point, like, how can you justify sending all this money to help other countries when you have people in your own country that are starving or at risk of getting evicted? Like, it's kind of an insult to me.
Yeah.
Like, there are people struggling, because even though, you know, we're doing okay, right? We're in an uncertain time. So, I mean, like, if we took that money, we have that stimulus money, we're getting those back checks. That's something that we have just in case things do start to go south again. Because we're in a situation where if this spikes again, we could very well see it where, you know, we do have to start getting rid of more jobs.
Yep.
We might have to start defining what an essential worker is more and more.
Yep.
You know, And I don't necessarily know that would affect you guys as much, but it sure as hell could affect me. I mean, one thing that my job
It affects me, man. There's no way I could like my it's currently affecting me because my job status has changed. Instead of being a salary person, I'm now an hourly that works on a quota. And if I don't meet my quota, I actually get less pay. I could get bonuses, which is cool, but bonuses are really hard in this type of experience, COVID experience right now.
Well, I know in my area, like, a lot of during that 4 months and most of our workforce is closed, a lot of that stuff went online. So, I mean, a byproduct of all this is that our customers they're more and more and more going online. And we saw a lot of our stores get closed once we reopened.
Yep.
And a second hit, who knows what stores could be affected by that.
Well, there's also that talk of
job.
They're talking the food industry right now across the country. A lot of big people, restaurateurs and chefs and things like that said most likely 60% of the food industry, privately owned food industry, is going to disappear.
Yep.
Because we're not keeping them afloat. We're keeping McDonald's and all these other industries afloat, but we're not keeping small time restaurants afloat. And that's huge. Like that's when you start breaking down that's the worry that I have, is becoming too dependent on what the government is offering us. Because it's very strategic on what's being offered and what's not being offered. And so, like, when you talk about industries disappearing, especially privately owned industries, I mean, yours is a corporation. The corporation's going to decide what they're going to do. But if you owned your own small-time cellular store,
I'd be fucked.
You'd be screwed completely right now. Like, you would have been out of a job and most likely never getting it back. And that's the part that's like, your stuff is always going to come back. It's going to screw you over. I'm not saying I'm saying individually. People are getting screwed over, but the corporations are always going to come back and stay afloat. It's all everybody else that's in these small time situations that are really getting hurt, and it's their livelihood.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's scary.
And then
what does dependence look like?
Think about.
Yeah, what does dependence look like? If you can't be dependent on your own ability to have your own job, like half my family, well, majority of my family, extended and close, are all self-employed.
Yeah.
And I own a company, and when you're not having income coming in, that's scary because now you are becoming dependent.
Yeah.
On somebody else, not your own ability to work hard, because you're still putting your 40, 50, 60 hours a weekend, but you need that government money or that government food to get you through now. And what does that look like for the future if this is the new model?
Yeah, and you're definitely right. Like, the thing that comes to mind with that is the balancing act, right? So, like, on one side, it's, fend for yourself. The other side, which you're talking about, is, complete and utter dependence. But I mean, where's the balance at? Like, you'd have to ask the question was what the government has given us so far the correct balancing act? And I would say it's not. Like, I mean, no. I don't think that people are dependent on the government yet. I do think we're more on the closer side of fend for yourself. We're sorry, but I mean, like, there are definitely things that we could have been doing differently. We pile a ton of money in all these different places and kind of just say, fuck the American people. No. Meanwhile, Jeff Bezos, I mean, he's having a fantastic year. But
again, we should have took that initial 1,200 and bought stock this year.
100%.
No.
Now I can't afford stock.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But hopefully they get something figured out, and at the end of the day, all it takes is we just got to start working together with this. Hopefully, once the Jagoff is out of office, maybe we'll start to see people start to heal some stuff. I don't think that's going to come from Joe Biden, because I don't see Joe Biden as that kind of a president. No. But I mean, I think a lot of it's just going to have to be our interpersonal relationships with each other, because it's real easy for me to dehumanize a Trump supporter, and I'm not proud of that, but that's my reality, unfortunately. Not to necessarily super shift gears, but I feel like what's also important while we're on the top of coronavirus, it hasn't been all bad. Like, we've had some good stuff come out of it. So I kind of would like to explore that with us, though, too. Like, I mean, I can start. Like, for me, I learned how to do quite a few things. Like, so I mean, I ended up taking some of that Daddy Trump money, and I bought a grill, and so like I learned how to cook so many awesome, amazing dishes.
I'm
Since
happy
the
you
whole
said
start of it.
you said grill, right? I had a little glitch there, and it sounded like gorilla, and I was really excited for a moment.
No, I bought a flat top, and but like,
Damn it!
but I think one of the benefits is, you know, like, I can really only speak for like Alan and I as like millennials, but like I feel like
Stupid
you're
millennials.
shut up. But like
Boomer.
overall, we definitely really liked to go out to eat. That was kind of our
Mhm.
thing, you know. We enjoyed that. But I
Yeah.
think that what coronavirus has helped a lot with is us kind of learning to be more independent. Because I mean, let's be honest. Like millennials, we were fucking babied, right? I mean, I can admit that. I think it's good in some respects, but you know, it did teach us to be more independent on some stuff. So I mean, I've always had a passion for
What?
cooking.
Yeah.
What? What
Nothing.
were you gonna say? Were
Nothing.
you talking shit? No,
No.
but like
Don't make the
it
millennial
was
gang up on you.
Bunch of silver spoon little bitches.
right. It was really cool though. I mean, because like growing up, we never really went out to eat that much. You know, my mom always cooked dinner, and so like when I got out of the house on my own, and then like I went out to eat all the time. I was like, I got the money, I'm gonna go do it. So I remember when I lived in Bemidji, it was like, hey, what should we have for dinner? Let's go get some beat ups, or
Yep.
let's go
Yeah.
get some
You
Keith's
really did. You
pizza.
really didn't start cooking until like your last 6 months of living there.
Yeah, and like, but like now, like I've learned to make these such good dishes and really had more time to kind of hone my craft in that.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, I mean, like even like gardening. So like I found passions and stuff like that that I never had before. Like I remember like every day in our group chats, like for work, like I'd be bragging about my plants, or like in the Discord, our other Discord, me and Alan be talking about what we're growing. I mean, looking at like the front of my house or like my
I
deck.
know what Alan's growing.
Yeah. But I mean, like I was growing tomatoes, I was growing peppers, I was growing beans and peas and cucumbers. Like I must have jarred up like 50 to 75 jars of pickles and like things that I never really knew how to do before. But
Yeah.
like I got a really good handle on it. And I don't know, it was kind of a cool accomplishment because it was something that I found a passion in that I didn't know I had. Because
Yeah.
before it was, I'm going to go to work, come home, I'm going to play Xbox. I'm going to, back in the day, I'm going to smoke a bowl. You know, like I never really did anything besides podcasting or, you know, jamming with Alan.
Yep.
I didn't really have a whole lot of passions that I took part in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, now that I'm older and I'm not partying all the time, you know, I still play video games with this because I don't have any friends that live here. But like it gave me time to really focus on some new things. And you know, sit down and watch more shows with my family and have a little bit more time because, you know, Alicia, you know, she doesn't have to work, luckily. But I mean, I was working all the time. And so I got to spend more good time with my family. And that was really cool. Like I really enjoyed that aspect, you know, teaching my kids, you know, hey, this is what I do in the garden. This is how the plants grow. This is what we needed to do to take care of these things. Or, you know, I would come out, um, it would be a nice evening. I'd go on my deck, fire up the grill, you know, grab a beer or five, and play some awesome music on the patio,
Yep.
and just cook some food with my son, like, and just like chat with him and ask him how his day went. Like little things, like when you're so stressed with work all the time, you don't necessarily have the time or the energy to do that. And
Yeah.
that to me was awesome. Like I got to do so much more at home and learn different things and grow my relationships with my kids and my wife even more. And so I mean, I
Yeah.
guess with every punishment that Corona's given us, there have been some moments. Like, I mean, what are some of the things that you guys had?
Well, for me, when I got the stimulus, I was like, you know, I've been talking about getting a computer to do video editing and all this other stuff with, and so I finally said, you know, whatever, I'm gonna do it. Pulled the trigger. So
Yeah.
really, I mean, if it wasn't for coronavirus, I don't know if I would have moved on that, and
Yeah.
God
No,
bless
you're back
coronavirus, Alan.
And you're
God
back
bless
in school,
coronavirus.
right? You're back in school now too, right?
I was looking into it. I didn't.
Yeah.
I ended up not going back this year, but like just been kind of like looking at like video, like online videos and stuff too, like learning that way.
Absolutely. And I've been back in school myself. Like I've found more time to do some of these things. And I mean, what have you done, Graham?
Oh my God, nothing. Well, I think that's the hard part. Is like, so I'm always working. Like that's just been like I'm always stuck working. Like that's what I do. And for the first time in 12 years, being home on the weekends has been different.
Yeah.
You kids actually know who their father looks like.
Yeah. Like I mean, 12 years. Alan and I will be gone. 2 to 3 weekends a month for the last 12 years.
Yeah.
And so being home doing that has been different. But the problem is like time still flew because at first I was still working up until mid-June, but then finding out, about the diabetes stuff and things like that. I think the part that I grew on is I had time to focus on my health and even my mental health. And so like I would walk 25 plus miles a week. Every single day I'd be walking, trying to learn new meal preps, things like that. Time with family was good, but it was also tough because I'm not home because I work so much. So like trying to reintroduce Graham to the house was weird and hard. But there was all these ideas that I had in my head of things to do, and then I just lost track of time. I think I lost track of a lot of time, and I started working again, doing construction and things like that on the side to make it through because I didn't have income for 4 months.
Yeah.
And so I'd have to do whatever I could to get some income. So I really I just kept busting. I kept working. Couple new things, like I said, the health and stuff. But it was actually a struggle. It wasn't for on my end of things. It wasn't great.
Well, shit, now I feel bad.
No, it's good. That's the thing. Like I was gonna ask the same question because, like some people are like, I'm gonna learn guitar. I was like, man, I'm gonna get better at my craft of drums, or I'm gonna get back into art and start drawing again. Didn't do that. We talked, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna podcast. I was talking with a bunch of people about podcasting, and we didn't get into it. There's all these like little things that I wanted to do, or like my house. It's like, man, I got time to finish my house and work on the projects here. Well, not when you don't have money.
Yeah. That's the tough thing.
So like this summer was actually, it was a big struggle. It was a really hard challenge again, dealing with all this. And it was good up until June. And then after June, it just got really, really hard. And even up to now, it's still really hard because there's a lot of changes, and kids being distance learning is really hard because I work from home. Kids need my help in the middle of the day. So I have to hold paperwork off until later. And it's just this nasty juggling situation. And so it hasn't been the easiest. It's been pretty stressful, which is unfortunate because there are some things that I wish I could have taken the time to focus on more, done more traveling. Well, you shouldn't travel during COVID, but but like there was just things I wish I could have done more of. But it was hard. A lot more time with family though. We did a lot of things. I built a pergola, a hammock pergola, Alan.
Okay.
And, well, Alan's seen it, but Matt, you would absolutely love it. Where you just swinging hammocks all day and chill.
But see, that's the
built
kind
a
of
sauna.
stuff.
Built a sauna.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. That. But see, that's what I mean though. Like those little things. Like I mean, those are certain projects that maybe you just didn't ever get to before, and like even like I make it sound like some grand thing. Like I learned how to create life in soil. You know what I mean?
No, that is a grand thing because
I guess. But
because
I mean,
your kids barely got through their first year with you around, so it's cool that you can grow tomatoes now.
Well, yeah, right. But I mean, even having those little moments where like you can just relax in a hammock with your kids. Oh, you didn't like that one, huh?
Pineapple mango.
I like that one.
Grain belt, you done me wrong.
But even having that time where you can sit in a hammock and just relax with your kids for a little bit because you're all there. Yeah. Because while it might not necessarily always translate to us as like a grand thing, like those are the moments that our kids are going to remember. So like when because I imagine each of us could think of something we did with our parents growing up that was like super pivotal for us. I mean, because our kids are going to remember COVID more than we will because of how.
Oh, it's gonna kill my kids.
Yeah. So I mean, like it's
you got teenagers and you know, the 5-year-old's something different, but the teenagers not seeing their friends, not being in school. It was a long summer for them.
Well,
Summer.
Can you imagine if it happened, Matt, like when you and I were teenagers and in high school? Like having to sit at home.
There's no way.
And we wouldn't have even had like Zoom meetings for class. It would have all been like on books.
Yeah, I was Graham back then. I had a flip phone.
Yep.
That'd have been brutal.
I didn't even have a phone.
No online gaming back then. Fuck, I'd have been screwed.
But you guys had games. We didn't even have games when I was growing up.
Well, listen, you guys had pet rocks and shit back then.
Yeah.
Pet rocks and Pong.
And
yeah, dude, you guys had arcades. You guys had arcades. I don't even want to hear it.
We did have arcades.
Yeah.
That was
unfortunately we never had arcades. Well, we had arcades, but they just weren't
did,
arcades.
We did, but that's where people got raped all the time. So
yeah, we didn't have arcades in the sense of like when Graham was growing up. Arcades like you have a freaking sock full of quarters,
and the etiquette of putting the you know, the next person up puts the quarter on top of the cabinet.
Dude.
We didn't get any of that. It was like $1 for us.
Our arcade growing up was at the bowling alley. There was one at the mall, but it wasn't that good. But the bowling alley was where it was at for an arcade. And the bowling alley was filled with smoke because you could smoke there. And it was a dive, dude. But I remember that. We would bike in and make sure. Bike in. By the way, bike in meant 10 miles for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those things, like, you look back at this year and you know, it's ending in 6 days here, 5 days.
Yeah.
And you look at it and it's like, all right, we've all been affected by this, but not so nastily so far. And I'm grateful for that part. And grateful to be through it. Hopeful because I got nothing drastically to worry about, you know, whatever happens type of thing. You know, I'll keep being me and working hard. But I do think I want to make sure, you know, to not be in that stigma of like being an a-hole, like we talked about. Judging people to the nines. Like, I mean, we're all gonna judge people, but be like to the point where it's like just pissing us off, you know. And trying to be, you know, we talk about, you know, what can we do to change? What can we do to focus? And, you know, it's not going to be Biden. It's not going to be this or that. And it's all about the community. It's all about how we interact and how we're gonna make things better locally first, family, friends, this way.
Yeah.
That's going to be the important way to like reach out to people and at least try to keep that positive mindset going. Yeah. Because there is way too many people being ugly, and we're not going to change the people up top, but we can only change the people around us, and that's what we got to focus on.
Which, to that point, I think us millennials actually have an advantage in that because we kind of, like our generation, I think you would agree, Matt, is more apt to working together, you know. Yeah. So I think our generation has to kind of finally take that step forward and actually step up.
It's funny because you didn't have to work for anything. So
just because technology has graced us in our early adulthood, you don't have to be all salty like some Gen X dweeb. Like, listen, ain't nobody like Gen X. You guys are like that dude who just like wears the same like white shirt and tie to work every day and doesn't say a word. Yep. It's the boomers nobody likes. Everybody loves millennials. And everybody makes fun of Gen Z.
Nobody loves
Gen X is just there. Gen X is just like, yeah, I'm here, but you know, whatever. I was a teenager when Nirvana was around. Yeah, cool. We get it, dude.
We put extreme in front of everything.
Yeah, we get it, dude. Grunge was awesome. We get it. We're listening to Skrillex now.
Alice in Chains, FTW.
Yeah, no. The thing is, like, nobody gives a shit about Gen X. You guys are just so casual about everything.
Whatever, pussies.
Listen, you identify. I guarantee you identify with a millennial more than you identify with a baby boomer.
The way he dresses, he sure does.
What do you mean? The way I dress.
Literally dress like a millennial. You dress like a millennial.
You dress like one of us.
Blue jeans and a black shirt. That's a millennial.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
and the hats.
100%.
Are you kidding
and
me?
hats.
I'm
You
a
have a
northern
beard?
Minnesotan. Yeah. My favorite part is like
Minnesotan.
my favorite part is when I went to Portland and realized everyone looks like me over there. And I was like,
because they're all a bunch of hipster Gen X,
that was my first time.
millennials.
Yeah, that was my first time being introduced to hipsters was in Portland. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And my friends are like, and they all look at you. I was like, I've looked like this since 1986. Like, I've had the big glasses and
we only looked like
I was 12.
And you only looked like that because you were poor.
God,
that's true. So what you're really telling us, you were doing it before it was cool.
I'm OG.
You're the OG hipster.
No.
Fucking hipster.
He's not an OG hipster. He's the proto hipster.
Proto hipster. Yeah. He's the fucking alpha.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's crazy. It's so funny, and it's like what gets me now. Like between friends, it's okay, but what gets me now is like when I'm in a store. Pre-COVID, when I'm in a store and people are like, dudes are like, bro, it's a nice beard. What do you do to make it so full? I'm like, you need to shut up right now. Like, why do you ask me? And then I'm like, oh, you're wearing a tight flannel, blue jeans that are cuffed, and some shoes that have never seen dirt, some boots that have never seen dirt, and your keyboard fingers are softer than a model's, and you're asking me about my damn beard. Shut up.
Yep.
I can't handle that.
I think I've asked your beard like 1,000 times.
Well, I don't care about that because it's like that's like friendships, but like some random dude, like, yo, what do you do to your beard to make it so full? I'm like, what? Or being at bars when the band is playing and some guy's like, hey man, can I touch your beard?
Oh my God.
What? What do you
like
what do you use? Dirt and sawdust.
Like legit, that does happen to us.
It's like you literally just want the like girls to come and say, "Oh, I love your beard," but it's just a bunch of dudes.
Oh, they do that, but that's switched. It's switched like the last.
Yeah, but it's like a 5-to-1 ratio. Let's be
not
every
anymore.
5 dudes.
It used to be all females, all chicks doing that, and then it switched like the last couple of years to just guys. Like, what's up, man?
Dudes like beards now. We all want to grow beards.
Nice beard. Can I get your number and we can talk the deets about what you do in the morning for your beard? I'm like, this.
Can you make me a YouTube video real quick on beard care?
Right.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite beard YouTuber?
Do you got a For You page about you doing your beard and
no.
stuff?
Oh, God.
Instead, Graham has an OnlyFans page about beards.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Only about beard care, yeah.
That's how unmillennial I am. I don't even know the title of that page.
Listen, Graham, say what you want, but I know for a fact you've been an early adopter on most new social media. You're a fucking millennial.
Yep.
Because I'm intrigued.
Well, it's because you identify more with millennials than you do baby boomers. It's fine. We're here for you. We accept
It's
you.
okay.
I don't know. I'm not acknowledging that.
Hey, it's fine because you know what? On a deep level, I feel like I identify with Gen Z quite a bit. Like I love Gen Z. They're fantastic.
Yep.
They're gonna rule the world someday. I can't wait. But I'm here.
It's fun to
them.
make fun of them too.
Oh, 100%. But like that's just we're trying to blend them into the perfect mix between a stupid Gen Zer and a all millennials are awesome. So
yeah.
So it's all good. So so yeah, I think
Are we
that's
slowing our roll here?
I think we're about at the end of the episode here. So I think next week we may next week we may need to dabble into the Civil War.
You want to? Well, we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
I don't know if I'm prepped for that one.
It might be more of an introductory kind of like teaser next week.
I don't know if I want to promote anything before the inauguration.
Yeah,
no, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
All right, so where do you check us out there, Alan? How do people get a hold of us? How do they spread the word if they're already watching?
You go to YouTube, and just search It's a Graham and Matt podcast. So
there's 2 of them now, so look for the newest one.
Yes, there are 2 of them.
Ignore the old one.
I will also. Well, I was going to say I would post a link, but it's going to be on YouTube, so I can't do that.
Yep. Where can they find the link though?
The link you can find on our Facebook page, which
Yep.
is It's a Graham and Matt podcast.
Yeah.
And we will also be uploading the links to the YouTube videos from there.
And here's the deal with the Facebook. The links will be there. Can we do a Discord link there too?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
I
and
believe
that's
so.
it. We're not really talking on there. We're talking over here. So if you
Yeah,
want to get a hold of us and you wanna put some input about topics, if you want to bitch at us about being idiots and the sound being bad, talk to Alan. Don't talk to us.
Yep.
That's Alan's.
We're not in
Yeah.
control.
Yeah,
We're
he's
just
the
here for
producer.
pretty faces.
Yeah, we
the
just
baller
look
beard.
good, and then we have this guy.
Yeah.
Alan helps us makes us look better.
Yep. But so check the Facebook. It's a Graham and Matt podcast. We'll have our links. We'll have the Discord.
Yep.
We won't talk there. YouTube, and then if you're on Discord, invite people to come check us out.
Yep.
Absolutely.
We have no sponsors, so that's okay.
Yep, not yet. Maybe someday. Maybe someday.
I did crack a beer and we didn't sponsor it, but that's okay.
Ah, dang it.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, I'm Matt.
This is Graham.
I'm Alan.
You've been watching It's a Graham and Matt podcast. See you guys later.
Peace.